I'm 32M, and I've worked my ass off to get where I am. I didn't come from money. My parents were lower middle class, living paycheck to paycheck. College wasn't even a discussion growing up because there was no way they could afford it. So I got scholarships, worked 2 jobs, and still racked up student loans to get my degree. Eventually, I built a solid career in finance, and I've been careful with my money ever since. My younger sister, 28F, is the golden child. She never had to struggle the way I did. Our parents spoiled her, found excuses for her bad decisions, and always bailed her out. She went to college on their dime, failed a bunch of classes, switched majors 3 times, and still ended up dropping out. When she wanted a new car, they co-signed. When she moved into a fancy apartment she couldn't afford, they helped with rent. Meanwhile, I was told to man up and figure things out on my own. Now she's engaged. Her fiancé isn't exactly a catch. He jumps from job to job, barely contributing to anything. But my parents love him because he's nice and makes my sister happy. Fine, not my problem. Until a month ago, when my parents called me over for a family discussion. Turns out, my sister had blown through her entire wedding budget. She had planned this massive, extravagant wedding. Designer dress, high-end venue, a live band, custom decorations, and an open bar stocked with top-shelf liquor. They had put down deposits, but now they were short $25,000. And they wanted me to cover it. I actually laughed when they told me. I thought it was a joke. But my mother got all serious and said, "You're in a good place financially, and family helps family." I told them flat out, no, not my wedding, not my problem. That's when the guilt trip started. My sister teared up, saying this was her dream wedding, and she couldn't possibly scale it down because people would judge. My father got angry, saying I was selfish for not helping when I had the means. My mother said, "After everything we've done for you, you owe us this." I pointed out that they had done nothing for me financially. Not for school, not for rent, not even for emergencies. They suddenly went quiet for a second before my sister burst out. "You're the rich one. It's not like you're using the money for anything important." That pissed me off. I told them I wasn't going to fund her entitled lifestyle, and if she couldn't afford the wedding, she should either cut costs or postpone it. That's when my sister completely lost it, full-on screaming about how I was ruining her life, how I didn't care about family, how she deserved this wedding. I just got up and left. I wasn't going to entertain this nonsense. But I knew, deep down, they weren't done. I didn't hear from them for a few days, which I assumed meant they were sulking. Fine by me. But then I got a call from my bank about an attempted withdrawal of $25,000 from my savings account. I nearly crashed my car. I rushed to the bank, completely confused. After some digging, I found out that someone had forged my signature on a withdrawal slip. The teller got suspicious and refused to process it, which is why the bank called me. They showed me the slip, and my blood ran cold. It was my mother's handwriting. I was shaking with rage. Not only had they tried to manipulate me into paying for the wedding, but now they were trying to steal from me. I immediately drove to my parents' house. My mother opened the door with a fake smile like nothing had happened. I didn't even let her speak before I slammed the withdrawal slip on the table. "Explain?" Her face went pale. My father walked in, saw the slip, and had the audacity to act offended. "Why are you making a big deal out of this?" he said. "We were going to pay you back." I lost it. I asked them how they could possibly justify stealing from me. My mother started crying, saying they had no choice because the deposits were already made and they couldn't let my sister be embarrassed. Then my sister walked in. She knew, and she had the gall to say, "It wouldn't have been stealing if you just helped like a good brother should." That's when I made my decision. They were dead to me. I told them I was done. Done with their entitlement. Done with their toxic manipulation. Done being their ATM. Then, I dropped the bombshell. I'm pressing charges for attempted fraud and identity theft. My mother screamed. My father tried to act tough, but I could see the panic in his eyes. My sister? She just stood there, stunned. I walked out, ignoring their pleas. If they thought I was bluffing, they were in for a rude awakening. I wasn't bluffing. First thing the next morning, I was at the bank filing an official fraud report. The manager assured me they would fully cooperate with law enforcement. Then, I went straight to the police. I filed a report for attempted identity theft and fraud, handing over the forged slip as evidence. The cops took it seriously. Financial crimes aren't something they take lightly. I also contacted my lawyer, who advised me to freeze my accounts and put fraud alerts on my credit, just in case my loving family had any other tricks up their sleeves. A few days later, my parents and sister got a visit from the police. I wasn't there to see it, but my lawyer later confirmed that my mother was the one facing charges, since she was the one who physically forged my signature. My father and sister weren't off the hook either. They were listed as co-conspirators. That's when the real tantrum started. My phone blew up. First, it was my mother, sobbing, begging me to drop the charges because she didn't mean to hurt me. Then my father, furious, saying I was destroying this family over nothing. My sister? She texted me a long-winded message about how I was ruining her wedding and how she'd never forgive me. I blocked all of them. Then the flying monkeys arrived. Relatives, family, friends. Even my mother's pastor called, telling me to be the bigger person and forgive them because family is everything. I told them all the same thing. Family doesn't try to steal from you. They made their choice. Now they get to live with it. The legal process moved forward, and while it didn't result in serious jail time, my mother did get slapped with a hefty fine, probation, and mandatory financial ethics classes. My father and sister had to deal with court fees and community service. Oh, and the wedding? Canceled. Turns out, vendors don't like working with people who are caught committing fraud. The venue dropped them, the caterer refused to refund their deposit, and the dress shop blacklisted my sister after she threw a tantrum in their store. They lost everything. And the best part? They were now in debt, trying to pay off all the non-refundable deposits. After the legal dust settled, my parents tried reaching out again. They wanted to fix things, but I knew what that really meant. They wanted money. So I made things official. I cut them off completely. I had my lawyer draft a cease and desist letter warning them not to contact me. I made sure they knew that any future attempts to guilt or harass me would result in a restraining order. As for my sister, last I heard, her fiancé left her. Guess he wasn't interested in marrying someone whose entire wedding imploded because of her entitlement. Now, my life has never been more peaceful. No manipulative guilt trips, no financial leeches, no unnecessary drama. Just silence. And I love it. So, moral of the story? Entitled people will always push their luck until they push the wrong person. Speaking of pushing buttons, hit that subscribe button before your entitled relatives start asking for loans you'll never see again.